Good morning. Thank you very much for being here. I'd like to introduce you to the chairman and founder of Oxygen Capital, Dr. Mark O'Day.
So I'd like to welcome everybody here this morning to our third annual Oxygen Breakfast. And again, Adam Buchanan has hit it out of the park. I think there's 200 people here today, so thank you very much for joining us on this rainy Monday morning. On behalf of all of us at Oxygen, my partners, the CEOs, and in fact all 280 of us, if you count direct employees and contractors, thank you for being here this morning and sharing your time with us. So 2020, or 2020, I think even has a better ring to it. It's a great sounding year, isn't it? I mean, it's got vision, it's got certainty, it's got focus, and it seems very much like the focus for 2020 is going to be on gold. Industry sentiment has clearly changed, judging by the sort of the vibe and the effervescence in this room. It feels like sentiment is certainly changing. Gold's broken 1,500. It looks like it's going to stay there. And, you know, it feels extremely different than it did even just 6 months ago, let alone a year ago. And really the right timing and the right place are the two themes that weave together all of our Oxygen stories. First, you need to be counter-cyclical in this business in order to succeed. I think we all know that. And building and buying your pipeline when things are cheap during the bear market is the right thing to do, and getting it ready to serve up when sentiment changes seems like the right counter-cyclical move. And I have to say that looking at what gold has done in 2019 and what it sure feels like it wants to do in 2020, I think we got our timing just perfect across the whole platform at Oxygen. So for the past 5 years, we've been buying, exploring, advancing great projects in great places across the whole platform in our organization. So to use industry jargon, we've been focused on Tier 1 projects in Tier 1 places. While we've been doing that, we've been shedding non-core assets like some of our projects in Turkey, which we'll hear about with Liberty Gold. We've been making a whole series of exciting new discoveries like Black Pine in Idaho, like the Wedge discovery or the Russet South or the Gap Zone at Pure Gold in Red Lake, like the 421 Zone in north central BC, and rediscovering projects like Cardero with big, thick intervals of high-grade silver in Chihuahua, Mexico at Discovery Metals. And importantly, while all of that has been going on, mainly that exploration engine, while all of that's been going on, we've been focused on what we are calling operational readiness. We've been getting ready for our first gold pour at Red Lake, at Pure Gold's Red Lake high-grade mine. And in an industry that is characterized historically by reaching periods of peak gold production during periods of depressed metal prices, we're not going to be falling into that situation at Pure Gold. In fact, if you look at this chart, this is the 10-year gold price in Canadian dollars. We are at an all-time high in gold price in Canadian dollars. And so just off that chart, in the next 10 months, we'll be pouring gold at our high-grade mine in Red Lake into the highest gold price in Canadian dollars that we've ever seen, far surpassing 2011 peaks. So our timing couldn't be better. And by the end of this year, this is a sort of a fact many of you may or may not know. By the end of this year, when Pure Gold gets into production, it will be our third operating mine to come from the Oxygen group of companies since 2016. Let's have a quick look at them. So we got Karma, Long Canyon, and Pure Gold. So Karma is a project we built from 2014 to 2016. It hit commercial production in October of 2016 and got acquired by Endeavour. It was a win-win situation. They added it to their portfolio of West African projects. A month later, Long Canyon hit commercial production in November of 2016. This is a project that we found and defined and sold to Newmont in 2011, and it hit commercial production built by Newmont in 2016. And as a side note, Moira Smith, who's our VP Exploration at Liberty Gold, will be receiving the Colin Spence Award for her pivotal role in the discovery and delineation of Long Canyon at the Wednesday award ceremony. So congratulations. And finally, Pure Gold. We're completing construction at Pure Gold. Here's a shot of our plant, and we should be in a position to pour our first gold before the end of this year. So just to put all that in context for you, I find this fact pretty interesting. I had Morton and Chris at NBF put together a list of all the new gold mines around the world since 2016. So since 2016, there have been 43 new gold mines, and I'm including Pure Gold in this. There have been 43 new gold mines built around the world in every jurisdiction, and that's above 75,000 ounces a year. So 43 new projects, new gold mines, and Oxygen is responsible for 3 of them. So that's 7% of the new gold mines worldwide have come from this group, this Oxygen group. And as far as I'm aware, there is no other group in the world, not Barrick, not Newmont, not Kinross, not Agnico, who have delivered 3 new mines since 2016. So for little old Oxygen here in Vancouver, who are basically known for making discoveries and drilling holes and doing great exploration, we're also in the business of taking them even further and building mines. And we've been doing it very successfully. So if I'm an investor looking at ways of managing risk, and this is an inherently risky business, we all know that, so managing risk but getting a good return in the process, I want to back a group that's done it before. It seems like a logical strategy. In fact, I want to back a group that's done it many times before, and there are a few of those groups around the world, but to be honest, there aren't that many, and we are one of them, and we've done it repeatedly, quietly, consistently over the past 18 years. So this is a slide up here showing the sort of collective Oxygen family of companies that we've created over the last 18 years. And since 2001, 5 have been acquired, crystallizing $3 billion worth of real value to our shareholders. And the remaining 4, which you'll hear from today, from the CEOs today, will be the next big wave of value for our shareholders. So either through ongoing discovery and resource growth or cash flow from operations or through M&A, we're going to drive the next value of realized value for our shareholders through these companies here. So I want to take a little bit of a retrospective right now and take a look back through 2019 at what we accomplished as a group and run through a series of slides that are broken down into categories. So let's first talk about capital. We know that none of us can achieve anything in this business without access to capital. And on that note, I want to thank our shareholders, both past and present, for believing in us and helping us get to where we needed to go. And 2019 saw the addition of a lot of new institutions, retail investors, other corporates, and I'll let the CEOs of the various companies come up and tell you about who their new share registry looks like. Just briefly on this slide, we raised $219 million across the platform in 2019. And you can see the individual companies. I can't read the numbers from this angle, but Pure Gold's around 160, Liberty is 15 and change, Discovery's 28, and Sun Metal's 6.5. So that's a pretty nice chunk of change. And the one individual I think is worth flagging here because he really deserves a lot of industry recognition is Eric Sprott. And I want to start off by sort of saying thank God for Kirkland Lake Mine, or the Kirkland Lake Gold, because if that success wasn't such a blockbuster success, then we wouldn't have had Eric redeploy hundreds of millions of dollars back into the junior sector and breathing new life into an industry that desperately needed it and really shining a nice bright light on the Canadian junior space for investors worldwide, telling them that it's a perfect time to get positioned. And I'm happy to say that he backed 2 of our deals. He bought 10% of Pure Gold. Well, why did he do that? I think he bought 10% of Pure Gold because it shares a lot of characteristics with the early days of Kirkland Lake. It's a brownfield site. It's 2.5 million ounces at 9 grams, ready to go into production. It's the highest grade development project in Canada today. And like Fosterville and Macassa, it could transform overnight through a series of drill holes and high-grade discoveries and transform from 150,000 ounces of production a year to 200,000 or 300,000 ounces. It's that kind of project. Next, he bought 21% of Discovery Metals, and he bought that after we acquired Lavon Resources, and he bought it for our exposure to the new silver resource that we acquired at Cardero in Chihuahua, Mexico. Cardero has 1.5 billion ounces of silver equivalent drilled off and defined already today. So even if by not doing anything, even though we're focusing on the high-grade portions of that resource, but by not doing anything, if silver went to $30 an ounce, like Eric speculates it will, and others speculate it may, Discovery could become a billion-dollar company overnight. So there's great silver leverage there. So this is a good segue into M&A. It was an incredibly active year on the M&A front. We did 2 deals, 2 full corporate acquisitions. Discovery acquired Lavon on a sort of merger of equals basis, but it was a share exchange deal. Not a big headline number, but still the same amount of work, whether this was a $1 billion deal or a $10 million deal. And that was a $10 million headline merger that has re-rated to a $140 million deal, which is what Discovery is trading at today. Sun Metals made the strategic decision of consolidating the 421 asset, the Stardust project, and acquired its joint venture partner, Lorraine Copper, again for about $10 million, give or take. And it was a smart thing to do. And we unitized the deal, put it under one management team, got rid of royalties, and were able to drive that exploration program as sort of one big happy family. The next slide is all about asset sales. So this really belongs to Liberty. And Cal and his team have been incredibly busy optimizing their portfolio. So streamlining the portfolio, getting rid of non-core assets wherever possible to reallocate capital to the Great Basin projects, which are their key cornerstone flagship projects, Black Pine and Gold Strike. So there are 4 deals laid out there that have a total of $41 million and change. That's the total after a couple of years of payments that are due attached to each of these deals. But it's a big number, and it's non-dilutive, and it's an important, super important step in the sort of the cleansing of Liberty Gold and refocusing on the core assets that are going to drive value here. So let's look at the group from a share price perspective. If this were an ETF, an oxygen ETF, the group has posted 122% gain in 2019 compared to the GDXJ, which posted a 39% gain. We've outperformed that comfortably. And each company is listed here. Pure Gold's up 22%, Liberty's up 246%, Discovery's up 247%. Sun Metals is down 26%, and this is just to the end of end of December for a group average of 122%. What about market cap? What about sort of valuations? We've added $450 million of valuation in 2019, posting a 355% gain in market cap. Every one of the companies is up from a market cap perspective. Pure Gold's up 75%. Liberty's up 300%, Discovery's up 1,027%, and Sun Metals is up 20%. And I would add that at Discovery, Taj just got notified that we've been awarded the Venture 50 classification, which is out of 2,000 companies across all platforms, it's one of the 50 top performing stocks in 2019. So congratulations, Taj. So the final theme I want to touch on today before I hand it over to the CEOs is a theme about location. And by location, I'm talking about your geological location, what metallogenic province you're in, what gold belt you're in, but also what geopolitical location you're in. So location is an incredibly important theme. And it's a part of our success story here, being in the right place at the right time. And we all know that there's a ton of deposits that are sort of locked up in the ground, that are stuck, undevelopable. I've been spending a lot of time talking to Rick Valenta, who's a former colleague of mine. He used to be the VP Exploration at Frontier and Aurora, and in fact, we both did our PhDs together roughly the same time at Monash in Australia. Anyway, he's back in Australia working at the University of Queensland in Brisbane, and he's putting together lots of data sets around the world about why deposits are stuck where they are. And according to his research, these are all the slides of gold deposits over 500,000 ounces that are stuck in the ground. So there are 2.5 billion ounces of gold that are not developed right now. That represents about 25 years of global production. And as investors, we might think, okay, well, all we need is gold price to go up and these will get liberated and hit the market. But that's not the case. According to his research, about 75% of that 2.5 billion ounces are sitting on the sidelines because of things that are non-price sensitive. So things like biodiversity, tailings, community, land pressure, poverty, infrastructure, permitting, things that I would call lumped together into the category of location. They're in the wrong locations. So it really drives home the critical importance of investing in companies, one, that have high-grade deposits that are, in fact, price insensitive, but also deposits that you can actually develop. And all of our flagship projects at Oxygen that you're going to hear about today meet these criteria. We're in locations where we can develop them. And we certainly have a track record of being in projects that you can develop based on the production history I just took you through. We've got 3 mines that are since 2016. But I would note that, this is a shifting landscape, and the locational criteria are always changing. So in 2016, for example, we built, in a company called True Gold, we built the Karma mine in Burkina Faso. We sold it to Endeavour. It was a good exit for our shareholders, and Endeavour acquired a nice, long-life, simple heap leach open-pit mine. But we're not going back to West Africa. It's too dangerous now. It's changed. It's too uncertain. It's too volatile. And it's not the right location for us as a group anymore. Let's talk about Turkey. After 16 years of working in Turkey with Frontier since 2004, and now with Liberty in a series of joint ventures with Teck, and we've had tremendous exploration success there, Liberty is exiting Turkey. We've made the decision to exit that jurisdiction and reallocate that capital to the Great Basin. Here's an artistic rendition of the Great Basin showing Black Pine, which is our flagship project, and Gold Strike, and Kinsley, which we've done a deal to sell. But we are reallocating our capital out of Turkey into the Great Basin. Why the Great Basin? Because it is without question one of the world's most highly desirable mining locations. It's home to 150 million ounces of gold production, dozens and dozens of world-class mines. It's the birthplace of some of the biggest gold companies in the world, and continues to be their operational backbone. So it's a place you can explore, build, and operate. So we're happy to be there, and it's the right move for us. Let's switch gears to Red Lake. Here's a simplified geological map of Red Lake. Pure gold is in the Red Lake mining camp. It's had a century of mining here, and 30 million ounces of ultra-high-grade material has come out of the Red Lake camp. In fact, some of the highest-grade ounces in the world have come out of this region. And mining is the reason that Red Lake even exists as a place. So it is the right geopolitical jurisdiction to build and operate a mine. What I've got outlined here in those thick red dashed lines here are what we're calling Main Street South and Main Street North. And when you look at the 2 criteria that determine whether your location is on Main Street, there's 2 things. One, are you in the Balmer assemblage, which is that green unit? And are you along that major break, or that unconformity, or that shear zone, or that rift edge, or whatever you want to call it, separating that yellow from the green? Are you along that big structure, and are you in the green rocks? Because that's where 28 million ounces of gold has been mined and discovered. And we are. We own 7 kilometers of Main Street. And in my estimation, at least empirically, those 2 criteria, if you don't have those 2 criteria working in the Red Lake camp, you're not on Main Street. And if you're not on Main Street, you're not in Red Lake. There are 2 companies that own Main Street. Pure Gold owns the southern extension, and Evolution owns the northern extension. Evolution bought it from Newmont and bought it from Goldcorp. So the last 2 not slides, but the last 2 points, let's talk briefly about Sun Metals. We're in northern British Columbia. BC is one of the hottest places in Canada right now. We've seen a ton of discoveries. We've seen lots of M&A activity. And, most importantly from our perspective, we made a brand new discovery called the 421 zone, which is a phenomenal high-grade copper-gold massive sulfide zone that's wide open for expansion, and we're going to get back at it this year. It's pretty special. And if you had to describe a location in BC that would have been perfect for mining, or that's perfect for mining, Stardust is pretty close to perfection. And Steve, when he gets up here, can talk about some of the reasons for that. And last but not least, Discovery Metals, through the acquisition of Lavon Resources. We have found ourselves in a new, rich geological environment surrounded by world-class operating mines like Santa Eulalia, for example. We're in the right location, both geologically and geopolitically. So I think we are sitting on 4 winners right here in terms of asset quality and location, and our timing is going to be perfect. I'm extremely proud of what our CEOs and what our management teams have all accomplished over the last year. And to quote a phrase from Robert Frost, the best way out is always through. And that's exactly what we've done. We've pushed our way through the headwinds and the apathy, and we're here today with a stable of incredibly high-quality projects cashed up to deliver value into a rising gold market. And to me, that feels like a recipe for success.